Welcome to another episode of Palm Harbor Local. I'm your host, Florida native and real estate ninja, Donnie Hathaway. You know, I started this podcast because I'm extremely passionate about connecting you with the people and the local businesses that make Palm Harbor so special. Palm Harbor, Florida is a great place to live, work, and play. It has everything you could dream of, from the food, the outdoors, the lifestyle, to the people in the community. I wanted to create a podcast that connected the community and inspired everyone to live better. To join this community and stay up to date on all things Palm Harbor, visit my website. It's palmharborlocal.com and sign up there to join the locals. And remember, together, we keep Palm Harbor local. So welcome back to another episode of Palm Harbor Local. Today we have Joe McMiller back for episode number 2.
Round 2, let's do it.
What's up?
Yes.
How's it going?
It's good, man. Things are really well. I'm excited for the new year.
Yeah.
That right now the last few months have been very revealing in many ways. Yeah.
Cool.
What about you?
It's good, man. It's good. I think it's the same kind of headspace. Just excited for 2023, and I feel like there's always that excitement at the new year, right? And we'll touch on this in a little bit, but like, how do we keep that going throughout the entire year?
Maintain resolve.
Right, maintain. Yeah, I like that. So, it's been 6 months since you were on the episode.
Almost to the day.
Almost to the day. 6 months. What's changed? What's new in the business and life? Like, is there anything like in your mindset approach that's different, that's changed over the last 6 months?
For me, I think, and obviously a massive buzzword, I think authenticity has really stuck out in the last 6 months. A lot of changes for me personally, for me in the business. And so for me, and I think, having the identity of being a dad for a really long time, I think I lost a little bit of Joe, and I'm really tapping into maximizing both of those, pouring into both of those cups, because I was a human before my daughter, and I'll be a human after she's out of the house. And so really pouring into those cups, and it's really coming out, I think, in a lot of the content that I'm creating, the way I'm coaching, in a really positive way. That's for me, I think, has been the biggest change in the last 6 months. The business, last time we talked, I was kind of just getting into online and doing remote coaching. Mm-hmm. I see a phenomenal advantage to that, just because when you see me in the gym, it's on agreed upon time. And for some people that becomes tough, like life happens. And so now being able to help people schedule out the week, look at different, because like even myself, my training schedule's all over the place based on, my daughter's show choir, her running, things that pop up, events, like family comes into town. Mm-hmm. And so to keep this rigid schedule is unrealistic long term. And because longevity is the mantra of the brand, being able to be fluid and get through it. Wait a minute. Being able to be fluid and mobile. It's almost like Bruce Lee. He said, you got to be like water, right? Be adaptable.
Right.
We have to be. And so the remote coaching for me has been awesome, because people can make it their own, find their own time. And I've really loved seeing people get it and find it and then take off. It's been a lot of fun. And that's been the most fun, probably.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. The schedule thing is the most challenging too, and everyone has a different, especially now with jobs and time frames and remote work and having to go to the office and work. Like, everyone's schedule is completely different.
Have you seen the Will Smith Will Smith did a docuseries trying to write his book and then lose 20 pounds and it was 20 and 20. Did you watch that?
I think I watched part of it. I don't know if I caught the whole thing.
So this man goes to Dubai away from his family because he has the resources to do that.
Yeah.
And he's going to write his book and he's going to lose 20 pounds in 20 weeks. Right. And so we try and do this without the access to fly to Dubai and without the access, and without a team of people. Yeah. And spoiler alert, Will Smith fails.
Yeah.
And so with unlimited resources, unlimited time in that sense, because he literally removed himself from his world to go do this, it doesn't happen. So the idea that we're going to figure this out in 60, 90 days with time constraints, with commitments, with not just ourselves, but other people is unrealistic for long-term success.
Yeah.
You want to get it done for the wedding? My opinion, not a great idea. You can do it. But after the wedding,
what's going to happen?
Those habits, right? So when I look at that docuseries, I thought the thing that was so powerful was, I can just take my time and do it right as opposed to trying to rush it, because someone who has unlimited resources couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. So why should I think I'm going to master this shit in 90 days?
Mm-hmm.
Not going to happen.
Or longer, or like a year, right? It's still not going to happen.
And it's always going to evolve, and so will your goals, and so will you, and your day will change. But this idea, like, we have to give ourselves a little bit more grace, a little bit more time and understanding, because the perfect rigidness of it isn't realistic. Think of a goal that you set that meant anything to you, that didn't have setbacks, obstacles, that didn't have something that came up or in the way. And typically with some planning and some restructuring, we can get over and around that. With fitness, though, we just got to do these things. Like, there's just perfect. No, bro. Like, and my people, they're on. I mean, I have some members who, like, their scheduled workout is 45 minutes playing with their kids at the park. Mm-hmm. Like, we don't think about that as a workout, but that's what fits into her schedule. And all she has to do is not sit down. Mm-hmm. Chase, play, tag. And most people, that's not a workout. But calorie-wise, and the connection she's building with her kid at the same time, of course it is. But because of the idea that we have of all of this rigidity, we don't even look there.
Yeah.
Right? So I think when we look at longevity and we look at where we want to be 5, 10, 15, 20, like, my fitness goal, bro, is like hopefully 40 years away from now.
But are most people thinking about fitness like that, like long term?
No.
Like, I mean, one, it's hard to think long term in anything.
Absolutely not. Most people are thinking fitness is pounds. Fitness is a picture. Fitness is a scale. Fitness is a metric. The actual definition of fitness is essentially good health. So we could make that anything.
Right.
For me, it's, I want to, if my child decides to have grandkids, I want to be able to pick up, play, walk with them. So when I thought of it that way, what do? Just like any other goal, I'm like looking at the old men and women and what they're doing now.
Yeah.
And that's now part of my programming. And it's like, okay, for me to get there, there were things that I'm missing currently at 37 that would have been really hard to develop at, hopefully 60, 70, depending on what my daughter does. Like, it changes when you start to really break down, what do I want to do with my body? As opposed to, how does it look? How much does it weigh? And I'll be real with you. Once you start looking at the performance of what can I do?
Yeah.
The how do I look?
Goes out the window.
And not even goes out the window. Yeah. Changes dramatically. I promise you right now, I've never looked better. Go back and look. I've never looked better.
Yeah.
And I have never focused on how I look less.
Yeah.
Like, what I can do. And I think a lot of that is just your body wants to be in homeostasis, right? Your body wants to configure to what you're asking and demanding of it. So where before it was like dredging to look at food and all, like, now it's just helping. Hey, help me do this, as opposed to constantly sacrificing. And that doesn't mean it comes without sacrifice.
Right.
But this idea that that's just not the real world.
That's something I've thought about the last probably month or so, of just, so I have a 9-month-old, almost 10-month-old daughter, right? So for a while, fitness is very hard because you don't get sleep. And usually, like, I'm the one that likes to wake up early and work out first thing in the morning. So, like, now I'm trying to get back into that schedule, that routine of, getting up early, get my workout in, to getting some kind of movement in. And before, like, I had set goals, like, I want to run, a half marathon, or I want to do this goal, right? And it was the same thing. It was like, I want to get this body, but I get to that, I run that half marathon, and then I take a couple week break, and then it turns into the couple month break.
Facts.
Right.
And so we look at those as checkpoints, right? If
Yeah.
your overreaching goal is playing with your kids,
Yeah.
having a strong cardiovascular system, or having good lungs, right? Having your heart work efficiently can help you also achieve the checkpoint of the half marathon, right? So if the ultimate goal is, again, for me, and I'm going to speak for me personally, just because I don't know everyone's goal who's listening, but the ultimate goal for me is I want to be able to run and play with the kids. Well, I need a healthy heart.
Mm-hmm.
I need a strong heart. And I have done the math, and people who run, although their heart rate is higher during running periods, typically have way lower heart rates, right? So over time, a heart is just a pump. What do we know about pumps? My pump in comparison to your pump, there's really no comparison, but we know that every pump has a essentially deadline, right? It's going to pump a certain amount of times. Well, if my overall heart rate is lower, right? That's less pumps per minute throughout my life.
Yeah, never thought about that.
Essentially extending that last pump. That's just how I look at it. Now, your goal, your checkpoint of a half marathon, a great way, if you do it safely, onto that goal. You break yourself down through it. Guess what? You might have gotten some gains, but not the maximal, not as much as you could have by taking your time, doing it not right, but in a manageable, progressive way that also fits your schedule.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. And then when that happens, like this year, I'm looking in either May or June to do a half Ironman. Well, like I have goals or other checkpoints after June. So hopefully the fitness doesn't end right then and there.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think too, like something I've thought about is instead of, so for this year, I'm not really planning on like setting any goals. Like I want to run this race. Like I'll still run races and whatnot, but I'm more concerned with the process of like just like figuring that out for myself, like getting good and efficient at the process of my morning routine. Right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the goal this year.
So how have you figured it out? I'm very curious now. You got me in. Let's talk about it.
Well, I don't know if I've figured it out yet, but I think it's just building those habits to put myself in the position to succeed. Right. So for me, waking up in the morning it's still difficult. Right. So in order to help me wake up in the morning, so that's step one, I got to get up. I write out like what I want to do the night before. Set out my clothes, have everything set up. So like the barrier to waking up and working out is low, right? So that's what I'm currently working on is trying to make that barrier to entry into working out. And
how's it been working?
It's good. Like when I go through it and another thing I do is like kind of visualize myself in the morning, like getting up and when I go through that process the night before, it's easy to wake up. You wake up and you're kind of excited and you're like, okay, let's go. This is just what we do. So I'm trying to get to that consistently day after day after day.
How many miles a week are you up to right now?
I'm doing like 10 miles a week.
That's a lot though.
Yeah. That's my goal. So 8 to 10 miles a week. One of my goals this year was 400 miles for the entire year. So it's like 8 miles a week.
Okay.
So, which is you break it down, 8 miles a week, like that's not bad. Easy to do.
8 miles is less than a mile, or
couple miles.
A little bit more than a mile a day.
Yeah.
A little bit more than a mile a day.
Yeah.
Which is wild if you think about it. Like, and that's 400 miles
in a
year.
Yeah. And you have to get 400 miles in a year, you're like, damn.
Yeah. And you'll crush way more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll crush.
Once you get going.
Especially when you start doing that half marathon training.
Yeah.
Do you have a program that you use, or is it just kind of like I'm just gonna get there?
Yeah, I'm just gonna get there. I've used Garmin.
Okay.
Like the Garmin.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
Hal Higdon. If you go to halhigdon.com, I know they used to have a lot of programs as well, and different based on if you can run 3, 5, or 7 days a week.
Yeah.
So that's a really great resource for the marathon. For any runners out there.
Yeah.
That's a really good one, I think, because like you said, if your schedule allows you 3 days, then you have that plan set. 5 days, 7, and so on. You like to run. I've seen like you're a runner. When are we gonna get you in the gym?
Oh, that's just this year.
That's
this
on
year.
it too.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. We got to put some size on, build some strength, and that's the thing too. It's similar to like you. It's longevity. Like if you're gonna run 400 miles, like you got to be able. You got to have the muscles to be able to withstand all that. And
And then the strength, and this is something that I think runners missed for a long time, just because I do understand the idea that, heavy bodies don't run as fast, but the power output. Like if you think about like a strong muscle, a stronger muscle has to, at the same speed, work less. Where it has to work less because it's more efficient, right? It's stronger, right? It's something I think runners missed for a really, really long time, and we see that now with like the Christian Bloomfords, who's like top of the Ironman game, or even like Nick Bare, who runs really fast and really far, but is also super strong.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, right? I think that like that's changing, and I've heard
super slow.
Nick Bare talk about that quite a few times about just being strong and being a runner. Like those go hand in hand.
And I think it's super important. If your thing is running, you obviously want to do that on a lighter level, because you are going to lose some speed with adding size. Right. But again, if you're not competing, let's say even at a professional or semi-professional level, what's more important for you long term?
Right.
And so that's how I look at it. Because listen, I'm significantly slower than I was. I mean, with age, but like I'm significantly slower than I was 10 yeyears ago. But all around fitness is significantly increased because I focused on, every part of fitness, not just one or two areas. Yeah.
And that's a big piece for, like you said, longevity, right? You got to focus on everything.
Which is really tough. And when I have the conversations with our people, that is the toughest part, is there's so many factors. So kind of putting them into a package that seems digestible.
Mm-hmm.
And like, because you think about it, right? Like if we were to look at a lot of the factors, you're looking at food for whatever your goal is.
Yeah.
You're looking at mobility. You're looking at training, like, your training split. You're looking at rest. You're looking at, like sleep, recovery. You're also, there's so many factors that just go into those little things, right? And food can be broken down into your macros. Mm-hmm. And then, like, it becomes this web, and that it doesn't have to be that difficult. And it seems like a ton, but when you break it down, it's really just small. It's just like anything else. It's small steps.
And you don't get there just like running 400 miles in a year. You don't get there in one day, right? You get there over a year, couple of years.
And that's where I struggle with some of the challenges and things like that, because the idea is for you to see the most success, quotes, on the scale or in a picture, and usually that comes with short-sighted activity.
Yeah.
So that's usually with not growing good eating habits, right? So I'm just gonna eat super, super low, which will work for like 30 to 60, almost even 90 days, and you see it start to flatline. You're like, I'm not eating anything. I can't eat less than nothing.
Right.
Well, your body's adjusted, and you haven't really learned how to eat. You just stopped eating, and you were eating a ton before, right? So and again, I think a challenge done right is a great show of what is possible. Where a lot of them go off, it's like, hey, I lost 30 pounds. But then you check in with them 60 to 90 days later, and they've gained that plus more.
Yeah.
Because they were doing things that were not smart for their body.
Or sustainable long term.
Definitely.
Yeah. So we're almost 3 weeks into the new year, and obviously, like, New Year's resolutions is always a big,
which I love.
Yeah.
People hate on New Year's resolutioners.
You're a fan?
Oh, 100%. I think there's more than enough. If we look at like Mondays, and we look at that beginning, that fresh, that new.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is that you need to attach it to, as long as you keep it long term, right? Like I think it is funny that we shit on people who want to do better.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
That's
oh my
true.
God, resolutioner, really?
Yeah.
Bro, you've been in the same spot for the last 2 years, though.
Right.
Like,
majority of people have been,
right? Like, what is it? You've been going to the gym, but you've been texting.
Yeah.
Like, be quiet.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So I wrote down the definition, and we talked a little bit about this before. The definition of a New Year's resolution is a promise to do something different in the new year. Right? Pretty simple. But I think where people get where the hate comes from is that at this point, 3 weeks into the year, like the gyms are packed, right? And then 3 weeks, a month later,
it's getting to that point.
We're
at that
so
like
packed.
Tipping point of
yeah.
Do I stay or do I go?
Right. People are staying home. So how do you what are some tips or like ways to take this New Year's resolution and make it like something you stick with the entire year and or beyond, right? And make it this longevity goal. What's up, Palm Harbor? It's your host, Donnie Hathaway. If you are looking to stay up to date with all things Palm Harbor, then visit my website. It's palmharborlocal.com. Super simple. You can sign up there, join the locals, where I'll be sharing more information on local events, local history, and what's happening in Palm Harbor. You know, I really want to create and add more value to you as a listener for spending your valuable time tuning into my podcast. So join me there, keep listening, and remember, together, we keep Palm Harbor local.
I think a few major things stick out in my mind. The first one is not having a clear direction, right? So I think men especially, but it's people in general, asking for help is tough, right? And so I think that's the first step is you got to ask for help if you don't know what you're doing or you're not seeing quote unquote success, right? So that bar of success has to be gauged correctly. And so what I would view as success for someone who's new is instead of scale right now, I would look at your consistency of going. Like if your goal is, I'm going to go to the gym 3 to 5 days a week. If you go to 3 to 5 days a week, you will have won, at least in some aspects, even if the scale doesn't show. Because for me, like we talked about, it's finding the way, making sure that you're putting not just the effort in, but fitting fitness to your schedule. Fitting fitness to your schedule. So if you go 5 out of 5, that was a great week. Yeah. Right? And to me, it's like the old adage about a barbershop. You stay in a barbershop long enough, you're going to get a haircut. So if you continuously go, right, you were walking nothing before. I don't care if you go and just go on the treadmill for 30 minutes. You weren't walking that much before. Right. Something will happen. The soreness of the gym, right? You're not even using weights yet. And then slowly find the internet. I mean, you can go through my stuff if you want. The internet is teamed with stuff for free stuff that you can try out and slowly integrate. It again, when you're looking at this whole year and the bar is I just have to show up, well, then you have X amount of more workouts than you did last year. And that is the win. My daughter and I talk about that with almost anything. It's the work that matters. Because consistency is one of the hardest things to build, period. Once you get that, then maybe we're adding in, okay, I'm going to walk 3 times and then I'm going to try this weight stuff that I see. Or maybe try a class, right? It doesn't have to be super expensive either. A lot of my people, it's $11 a month. You can have every workout that I've ever done essentially. And they just go through and use that. You got the beginners, the intermediates, and the advanced stuff, which follows my stuff right now. Yeah. And so it's not about, but again, it's like, that's not a 90-day program. You could use that all year. And there's stuff that you can do for free all year. You find someone else that you like even better. I don't know who that's going to be, right? But I think for the number one is when you change the bar from weight, from pictures, from XYZ, from what the next person is doing, and the bar is I have to show up. Yeah. A perfect week is 5 out of 5, or rank yourself. That's part of what my people do is they have a journal. They have 5 objectives. Yeah. Did you eat the way you're supposed to? Did you train the way you're supposed to? Did you manage your stress? Did you get enough sleep? Did you drink enough water? And if they did those 5 things, that day is a solid day. And at the end of the week, we want to see 7 for 7 in all 5. Sometimes we don't. But guess what happens when we don't? You don't lose. We then know now what the focus of next week is. Yeah. So you went 7 on 7 on the other, but on 4 of them, but water was 3 out of the 7. Well, you haven't lost anything. Right. Now we have a direction.
How do I drink more water next week? Yeah.
And that becomes the goal because you've not mastered, but last week at least, you crushed the other 4. This is what's going to help us. When the work becomes your bar, that's why I said when performance became my bar, a lot of other things changed. The body had to adapt to what I was asking it to do. Right? And that, for me, the biggest thing is you're shooting at something that you cannot control. This is controllable. You can shoot at this.
Yeah.
Take those 5 things and whatever your version of it is, hit those 5 things every day. You get 5 wins in a day.
Yeah.
And a ton of them throughout the week.
And then you feel good at yourself, by checking all those boxes at the end of the day.
And guess what? The first week, gonna be horrendous.
Yeah.
Trash.
Yeah.
Second week, your goal is just to have a few more.
Yeah.
And then it gets scary. Because then, bro, sometimes I have a 12K step goal. I'll be up late. Like, let me just get
trying
the steps
to get the
in.
goal.
I'm on the phone. I'm drinking. Like, it becomes a fun game you get to play. And it's all based on things that you can control. I don't care who you are. At certain level, you can't control what your weight looks like, or what your body looks like, right? And you can manage most of it, and you'll learn. But if you're new, right? If you're someone who needs a resolution to kind of get back into health in general, this is going to be an experiment, a very long one.
Yeah. And I think, so there's 3 things that kind of stood out to me on what you just said. Number 1 is just keeping that initial target like low. Keep it simple, right? Just show up at the gym, walk on the treadmill.
That's it.
Right? Just get into the habit of going to the gym. And then and the second thing is that consistency, right? Because that's the key, right? You can, if you're walking, like you said, if you're walking 30 minutes a day, 7 days a week, and doing that for a year, like, you're going to feel a lot different about yourself.
Yeah, your body's going to feel different. It's going to look different.
Yeah.
It's going to move. You'll see yourself like getting home and not being the first walk's going to be trash.
Yeah. But how easy is it to do like 30 minutes? Or if 30 minutes is tough, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is.
And then build on it. I mean,
right,
I think we had this idea, it's all or nothing, and that only makes sense if there's a deadline on your life.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Like, get to all and build it slowly. It's just fun to see. Because some people think, oh, like, I will literally send people programs and like, that's it? Well, let me see you hit that first.
Yeah.
Okay, how about that?
Right.
And sometimes
Crush
they do,
it.
sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
And okay, great. Okay, solid week.
Yeah.
Now we build on it.
Yeah.
Because it's going to get to a point where it's really, really tough. And it's hard to manage. And then we start really adding in some of the other things that the team does and we focus on.
Yeah.
But I mean, think about just our lives right now, right? Like, outside of just the gym and how you feel, right? If you were to move a little bit more, if you were to sleep a little bit more and focus on it, if you were to eat, I don't want to say healthy, but eat nutrient-dense foods, right? So maybe just a little bit more fruit, a little bit more vegetables. If you were to manage your stress, so like, how about one less honk at the guy next to you? Just let it go.
Yeah.
Right? Those things, not just how our body looks, but how do we feel? Right? Like, how is our outlook? How are we dealing with our kids? How are we dealing with the person at the office?
Yeah.
And, for some people, the water goal is just making sure I have my container, right? It doesn't have to be certain. Like, we have to realize that where you are is where you are, and anything better, right? Planned,
like being okay with where you are, right? Like that's
because you can't change that.
Right. Yeah. And the only way you can change that is these habits.
I can't change right now. I can change the future.
Yeah.
Right? It's choosing the freedom of, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I'll let happen. And for me, I think that is the biggest one. And then there's other small minor things like a weekly plan. I love that you have a daily plan.
Yeah.
I love a weekly plan.
Yeah.
Because what happens to me sometimes, if I do not plan, is, Wednesday I usually train at this time, but there's an additional show choir that I wasn't, that somehow there's additional show choir performance for my daughter that I just spaced on.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't plan it. But if I, on Sunday, had went through everything I had to do and put it in like an appointment, I would have seen, she's got show choir. Because it's very rarely an actual surprise.
Yeah.
Like, we knew about it. We just didn't plan for it.
Mm-hmm.
And so things like a weekly plan, and then the night before, making sure that the weekly plan that you set up works. Because maybe something else came up or something was new added. It's those two things, right? Changing the goal and then how we structure it.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, those two things I think will be helpful. And I don't want to get too lost in the weeds because, I mean, we can really dial it down.
Yeah.
But for someone who's 3 weeks in who's like on the fence of like, is this working or is it not? I would say you won't know for another 3 weeks anyway.
Keep
right?
going.
Most food changes take 2 weeks, and we're only in the week. We're only into 3. Mm-hmm. So if you're doing it really well, 2 weeks, right? Most physical changes 4 months. 4 weeks before we see it. So you're not even at the beginning where you should see, and that's if you were dialed in pretty well.
Yeah.
Right? But the expectation has to be, when the expectation is, I just need to do the work, well then what your body does is almost just feedback, because I can still do the work. Maybe I just need a little bit more. Then you're looking at it as the scale and things is just feedback. Oh, okay. Yeah. I went down a little bit. Okay, let me keep the walking the same, or maybe I increase it. Right? I could manage 15 more minutes of walk. Let me try that and see what happens. Oh, I didn't lose weight, but did I drink enough water? I probably didn't. Maybe I am retaining. Mm-hmm. I got someone who hadn't been drinking water really, really at all, who started drinking water and lost crazy. Yeah. But it took 3 weeks of drinking water and peeing every 5 minutes. Yeah. Right? But if he had stopped after week 1 and 2, like, what do we do? Mm-hmm. Like, where are you going? What are you in a rush to do? Like, where are you going?
Yeah.
Right? And it's a very interesting breakdown, and a lot of people who can buy into, this is for life.
Yeah.
Make it that way. For me, that's the one of the bigger things is like, what do you actually want? Why do you want to do this?
And to me too, like thinking about it that way, like longevity, or like this is just the way I want to live my life. It almost makes it easier, because you're not, like, to me, same thing, like I was saying before, like you're not concerned with how do I need to do X amount of workouts. I have to get all this done to meet this goal for this race or whatever. It's just, I just got to show up today and do a little bit of something, right? I got to drink, a gallon of water today, and whatever it is, just make those small improvements. It just makes it seems like it simplifies it, right? When you think about it long term, of like, I don't have to, lift a ton of weight today. I just need to lift a little bit more than I did yesterday.
That's it.
Yeah.
And it's tough until you see it that way, and I understand that. And that's literally the only reason I have a job in this fashion is that is the tough part. It's tough to see, like, but we're adults, right? And kids get it way easier. Like, I tell my daughter, like, you've never done this before. Why would you think you should do it today? And she's like, oh, that makes sense. Right? But an adult, like, hey, you've been eating like crap and moving like crap, and you haven't done anything for the last 4 years. To think that's all going to be reversed in 3 months, they're like, oh, but X just lost 40 pounds.
Right.
And
comparing ourselves.
They want to rationalize it, but it's, and people get scared and hate it. If it took you 4 years to get in this position, like you were in this great shape and it took you 4 years, realistically, in my opinion, to do it safely, you shouldn't be, you should look at double the time. Mm-hmm. Right? You want to be in even better shape then, because your body isn't going to respond as well as 4 years from now as it did 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And some people respond to that really well, like, oh, okay, this is going to be a journey.
Yeah.
And some people are like, okay, I'm just going to find somebody else. And that's fine.
Yeah, right.
Because I'm really adverse to sending someone down a path where they need me. I'm really, really into, hey, teaching you how to fish. Because in 4 months, if we haven't figured this out, that's on me at that point. Like, if we haven't found the rhythm, the routine, you're not educated enough to go and do kind of you can rock with me if you want to, but if you aren't ready to be kicked out of the nest in 4 months, that's on me.
Yeah.
But that's just how I look at it. And I guarantee that. Like, with my people, like, it's a very clear guarantee. And if we're not at that 4 month period, you stop paying me and we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And until we reach some of the objectives that we put in place, that's on me. Literally. Like, I put my money where my mouth is.
Yeah.
Point blank.
I like that, man. There's so much we could keep diving into.
Yeah.
But I'm going to keep it short, and we'll have you back on again. But I want to end with this. Like you have a podcast yourself. You started it before.
Dude, Wake Up Warrior podcast.
Yeah. So same brand or same name, right? It was Wake Up Warrior. Or no,
Yeah,
it was the
same
Morning
name.
Minute. Okay.
Yeah. So the Morning Minute is kind of like a segment on it.
I got you.
But the Wake
Okay.
Up Warrior podcast,
Wake Up Warrior
we are doing
podcast.
more interviews soon.
like it.
So you won't see an interview when this releases, but there will be more interviews coming. It's talking about just this stuff. It's really just not just. We talked today about the physical progress on the podcast. The podcast specifically, it's more about just the mental journey of parentinghood and being an adult and managing life and fitness and it all from the mental aspects of like how do we do similar the things that we want in life with our goals, ambitions. How do we break those things down, different perspectives, and ask a lot of questions?
Yeah, I like that. that. So Wake Up Warrior podcast.
Yeah, check it out.
And then how can people get in touch with you if they want some fitness help and tips and techniques and all that kind of stuff?
All right. So this one was about resolutioners. So what we're going to do is something a little different.
Okay.
You can find me at any place. I am Joe McMiller on almost any platform. You can reach out, and I would love to work with anyone who wants to. However, in the spirit of what we just talked about, how it should be easy, fun, and about the work, I'm going to send Donnie a link, which is in the description here. Thank you for putting it there, Donnie.
Mm-hmm.
And on me, you'll get 2 weeks of a PDF that I have. I'm not going to ask you for anything. You don't got to put in your email. The link will send you right to the PDF. It'll be 2 weeks broken down of kind of like an intro into the gym, right? If you do those 2 weeks, at the end of it, send me a little review about how it helped or how it didn't or what you would change about it. And then I'll speak with you and send you an additional 2 weeks. If you do the two, give me a little proof if you can. Give me a couple, give me some kind of proof that you can. And even just talk about what you like and didn't like. And that'll be honestly enough for me. I'll send you an additional 2 weeks. Don't have to pay for anything. So you'll have a month, an additional month of workouts, a little bit of running, intro, with an exercise library that you can access. So you don't have to ask nobody if you don't want to. If you're one of the shy people in the gym who doesn't want to ask, you can access all the movements. Instead of asking you guys to give me something, I'd rather just put the money where the mouth is and say, hey, go out and do it. And I love that more than you can. I mean, you can find me anywhere. That's easy. I love to talk, obviously. But check the description here. Click the link. It'll take you right to, it's going to be called the 2 Week Triumph.
Okay.
You do those 2 weeks. At the end of that, send me an email, and I'll have all the directions there for you. We'll get you an additional 2. The idea is just to keep doing it. Keep going.
Yep.
The game is long.
Yeah, keep that consistency
That's
up.
it.
Man. I appreciate that. Appreciate you sharing that with the audience. Sure. And
you should
again.
Join the newsletter, though. Make sure you join the Palm Harbor Local newsletter.
That's it.
Because honestly, the last 2 weeks, bro, smoke. Love the one you did with Vino Tinto.
Yeah.
Love the one you just did recently. I'm a fan. So you listen. It's a little bit different than the podcast. He gives you some different insights. He's got some
things to do.
It's been smooth.
Discounts. Yeah,
I'm loving it, bro. I'm really feeling that.
I
Thanks,
like that.
man.
Appreciate that.
Of course.
Thanks for joining us again.
Always, bro.
Thank you again for listening to another episode of Palm Harbor Local. I really hope you got a ton of value out of today's episode. Now, if you're looking to connect with the guest or just get more information on the episode, then you can check the description below. I'll have all the links in the episode as well as a link back to my website. It's palmharborlocal.com, where you can stay up to date on what's going on with the podcast and sign up there to join the locals. Let's get after it this week. And remember, together, we keep Palm Harbor local.